Today, we officially start to get serious about hunting here on Aurora Shores. That's going to be for two reasons. Number one, managing our caribou population and hopefully finding ourselves a melanistic caribou. The other, aging up our already existing melanistic moose. Fortunately, the two are not mutually exclusive. The more we hunt and the more time we pass on this map, the better. And the more caribou we can take out, hopefully the better we can make our genetics for those. So we're going to head down through here through the main part of the map first. Then we'll move into the mountains, try to get as many management caribou out of the way as possible, and see if we can stumble into anything good in the process. Now realistically, if we wanted to be as efficient as possible, we'd probably take a bow out here because we could call in all of the weak genetic caribou and take them out one by one with that, but I find the sound of these style games a little bit more satisfying than shooting a caribou with the bow, so we're going to be using the games for most of our caribou. There's definitely a chance we could go 700 long range on one a little bit further away, but getting to use the new scopes with some weapons new and old, and starting our hunt with a 1-star all caribou that very much look like a cull bull. And I think what's so interesting about caribou on Aurora Shores, and what actually can make this a rather fun venture, going out and trying to manage our entire caribou population, there is no private land, so 64% are on the public land, and everywhere we can hunt caribou is going to be private land. Now, I said there's no private land, the rainforest down here is, but there's no caribou there, so everywhere that we can hunt caribou is all public. Therefore, there's not one spot that has like the best genetics, so anywhere we go, there's potential for good ones, and we want to manage that as well as we can by hunting as many caribou as we can. Now, this is the kind of stuff we want to get rid of. There's very obvious differences in these matures. The one in the front, which hopefully we can still get on the same one, much more kind of like spindly looking compared to the one in the back. And although he's the youngest of the matures, I still think he's probably the lowest genetic potential. They're all 2-stars, best I can tell. But I do think that's the one to take, and of course he's going to walk behind the tree, because why wouldn't he? But the Gams can punch through there. Should be another vital hit. And it looks like another caribou going down. So I am hoping, by the way, to do far more than just caribou hunting today. We may even go down to the rainforest that I mentioned earlier and check on our Roosevelt Elk populations. As per usual with hunting on Nez Perce and back to Aurora Shores, sprinkle in some Sycamore Plains in there, I'm unsure where we are in the age cycle right now. So I just want to check on everything, make sure we're not missing out on a potential 5-star, and who knows what we stumble into in the process. So I will be curious though, what does this guy's genetic potential end up being? Because I don't think he's even, maybe he actually is, but at a distance he didn't look it. Got him through both lungs at 267. He is a 58%er, which is perfect. And just to see, yeah, he's uneven, just ever so slightly, and the tops on the left are a little bit more massive. So that was visible, just didn't look at as much up close for whatever reason. But let's continue on here. We're actually still in caribou feed time, so making the most of the time we have on this map. Now, when we get into this kind of thing, it's always tough to know whether or not we should take a caribou like this. It's by far the biggest one here, but it does have notably weak genetics. It's just like the last one. Like, this 1-star adult looks even, that's a 1-star adult that's not even, but it's so tough to tell as an adult where the uneven one's genetics might be. This guy's got the kind of bladed tops on the left and not so on the right, so he's definitely probably in the area of 60%, and I figure we might as well take him out. Now, if this one just happens, because sometimes when they hit the water they'll kind of pause, we could have maybe gotten him too. We actually got that guy really well. He maybe made it a couple of steps, but I gotta figure we're gonna take this one. This is some of the best caribou territory on the entire map. All of these herds live in this one area, and frankly, this problem exists for us a lot. We get a lot of 2 or 3 stars here that we leave because they appear to be the biggest ones, and nothing happens with our genetics. So I think we gotta take these kinds of ones out and hope the offspring are just a little bit better and slowly improve, because constantly having 60-70%ers and nothing better really does no good for us. So let's go ahead and see. We actually hard shot that, not too bad. Didn't even try to. 57% falls right into the category that we thought, and he is old, like he is super gray. Now, melanism, unlike albinism in this game, is actually dependent on the overall genetic potential of the herd. I think it's just for like herds that have high overall fitness. Now, high fitness in the game typically is just above 50%. But let's say that Melanistics maybe do need to have a higher average. Taking out something like that only helps the odds of Melanistics, on top of giving ourselves a better chance of just a regular old 5-star. And finally, the one example of a guaranteed Call Bull, a 1-star mature, who doesn't look terribly gray, but also isn't exactly the brown color of like a first-year mature. So he's kind of facing us a little bit. Maybe we can use the 700 long range for this one, just to guarantee a little more knockdown power. So if he'll turn his head back the other way, that is a lot of blood for a Caribou that kind of shook that off for a second. But we're kind of just bouncing all over the map right now, getting as many Call Bulls out of here as we can. And in the meantime, probably, closer to the end of Caribou drink time, we'll be able to rest back to the beginning and hopefully pass a little bit of time here on Aurora Shores as well. But maybe the lowest genetic potential male yet got him through both lungs and hit the artery that runs down to the heart. That was a 37%er, so that is definitely a plus. And honestly, we've spent a lot of time managing our Caribou herds over the course of the last year or so since Aurora Shores came out. 5-star Caribou were one of the main things we went after, so it's rare to see one under 50% these days, and definitely a big help to take them out. One thing I do find interesting, and maybe that's soon going to change, is the fact that we haven't actually had a melanistic female moose on our map just yet. Now, we don't typically shoot cow moose, so because they live to, I think, 16 years old, from the time one spawns as a young and makes it all the way up to mature and dies of old age, I actually don't know if we've had that happen to any cow moose since Melanistic's release. Now, ones that were maybe mature, they could have already been 15 years old, one age cycle passes, that should get us a new cow moose. But in theory, as we start to really take Aurora Shores seriously and start to pass some time, we might start to see more of that kind of thing as well. Now, this particular 1-star adult looked to be pretty low genetics. Our Melanistic, which we'll probably go and visit, is bigger than that as a 1-star young. So, got him actually almost like right in the eye socket. He was 23%, so that only helps our moose herd, and again, probably gives us a chance at more Melanistics down the line because we're improving that overall herd genetic potential. Actually, I think we've had aging. This is the first time, if I'm not mistaken, that our Mela has had some palmation. That is really, really encouraging, because he should only be, he might still be a young, but maybe he's a 1-star adult now? We're gonna have to get up close and try to take a look, and honestly, the best way is with the UTV. Yeah, he's a 1-star adult. Looking pretty good for his first year as that, so also, I think we got a new bull in the herd. He should have just spawned there. But let me go back and grab the UTV, we'll get close to him. Now, I do want to give a small piece of advice if you ever do this to get screenshots of your own animals. The one risk is that you may go barreling through one that runs a different direction than you expect. So you probably saw I turned away from him last second before I went into the camera, so that we come back out of this pause mode, we're not going to go crashing through what I think is a very real chance at getting a 5-star Melamoose, because he looks really, really good. Love to see the palmation as a 1-star adult, like I said. I think that's really encouraging for down the line. Didn't run anything over, also encouraging. But that means as we've had aging, obviously everything on the map has aged, and any respawns from the Caribou we've shot, not only in this hunt, but in the last ones, have a chance of being a Melanistic themselves. So we'll go back through our Caribou as well as check the rainforest area and see what we have. And wouldn't you know it, there's a pretty big Roosevelt Elk in the back there. Got a 2-star mature there. I don't know if we can spot this one. It's either going to be a huge 4 or potentially a 5. Oh, he is a 5. How are we spotting him there? Literally like through the back of that cow. We'll take it. Now we know. Got a 1-star in there, but evidently today is not a day for management in terms of Roosevelts. It's a day of trying to get yet another 5-star. So they're all moving up here broadside. We'll probably just slowly sneak our way. I didn't even realize he was bedded, but we'll try to get to 200 anyway. And well, actually, maybe we've learned. Shot a couple of Rocky Mountain elk in our most recent Nez Perce adventure, and that didn't go particularly great. So why don't we get into like 150? Now either I'm insane, or that's not your normal 5-star rack. I think it's kind of narrow set. Maybe it's a smaller one, but he's super gray looking. We are, though, into about 175. So we're going to try to line this up. He's actually kind of turning back, which may help us. See if he kind of opens up that chest cavity a little bit. That should have done it. I can't see. Is that pink blood? I'm not so sure. No, we must have gotten him for once. Can take down an elk with a single shot, but that was kind of concerning me. It looked like we had yet another case of needing a follow-up. But I'll be curious to see. I gotta think he's like 465, maybe 470. But comparing him to other ones is something I definitely want to do. So he's down there. Maybe a spot for a photo. Depends on what the brush looks like up close. I'm not going to spend too much time trying to make it look perfect because, unfortunately, there is still a chunk of the main beam that kind of goes under the ground. But in terms of, the way he landed, kind of one of our best, I think. I don't know if we had that tine cut off on the bottom right in all of them, but fix that real quick. And let's actually see what we just shot. Got him through both lungs, so good to see the 300 doing that. And we waited, by the way, till he moved his left leg forward, just to kind of open up that chest cavity a little bit better for us. He was an 89%er, which adds up exactly with what I thought was maybe going on. 460.9. 460, I believe, is the minimum for 5-star Roosevelts, and I only say I believe because there are some weird ones on Aurora Shores. We can check to be certain, though. 460 indeed is the minimum, so that's probably the smallest one we've ever shot. I just thought, though, some of those back tines, the way they kind of like stuck out at an angle, may be a rack we've never actually had. Now, comparing the frames, one thing I noticed, this is our newest one here. The ivory tips on these tines are maybe as good as we've had for any of our 5-star Roosevelts, so that's really cool. I do think these tines flaring out at the end of the main beams, that's kind of what sets it apart. I'm not sure that any of these other ones quite have that. So that is kind of unique. Little something different than most of them, and adding yet another 5-star Roosevelt to this lodge. The reason I wanted to come back and throw them in here, by the way, is because we're going to go back to our Caribou and start checking those herds again. See if any Melanistic showed up, see if anything is maybe aged to where we now know we can take it out, anything in that category, and we can head out from here. Now, in order to save us from seeing all the same Caribou again, I've kind of gone through, and unfortunately no Melanistics, but plenty of 1-star youngs to get us going for the future. In this spot, we actually haven't been worrying about this particular herd. Got a couple of 2-star matures here. I'm just trying to see, is there anything uneven? That's a 3-star that I'm not going to shoot. Yeah, the back one does have that same, like, one side palmated, one side not. Can we find a place to get a shot through? That was a risk, but I think it should have gotten him, and it sure did. Probably not something we'll do again, but it worked out here. Actually got him through both lungs and that artery. 52%, so that's going to be a good one to take out. I think this is a spot we should focus on more. We've had some 3 and 4 stars. It's just, I'm pretty sure, I don't know where, this is a rarely used zone, I believe. I don't know where their often zone is. It's got to be in a place that we never check. But when they're down here, it's really easy to worry about that particular herd. So unfortunately, no Melanistics and no 5-stars anywhere I'm aware of. So maybe we can check around a little bit more. So I think for our last stop of the day, this actually is the herd that we got our first 5-star in. And frankly, there's not much here to give us much optimism. There was, I think the last time we came here, a 3 or a 4-star. Clearly that has died. And we're left with this. Now that guy is uneven. So even though he's kind of stuck, I'm going to try to get him. And it looks like we did. So that'll probably be our last kill. And this is just going to be a large majority of what I do on camera and off, probably, for the next, I don't know, couple of weeks at least, until our Melanistic Moose ages up to hopefully 5-star mature. At the very least, when he hits mature, we'll start counting. I think mature is around 10, and we'll start to count down the years until his peak maturity. But I have a lot of hope in that. And in the meantime, as we have to pass time for him to age, we're going to be after as many Caribou as we can, take out as many as we can, hopefully get more 5-stars, and hopefully not jump ones that aren't yet dead. And then we'll see if any Melanistic spawn in the process. And just to see what appeared to be maybe the worst genetic one, is he actually uneven though? Maybe he wasn't uneven, he looked to be. That was an 80%er, so maybe not the best choice. He actually is even. He certainly looked to be uneven when he was standing there, but either way, not a future 5-star, so not a catastrophic mistake. And although we've been back to the lodge and already seen our 5-star elk, we'll make one final pass through there. And I am definitely looking forward to, hopefully, more mountain goats, more caribou, more stick deer would be awesome, and of course adding more elk and moose to this lodge as well, despite the fact that they are the thing we've got by far the most of. Definitely cool though, to get one with these really nice ivory tines, a little bit of a different frame, and it just makes, this type of thing, trying to wait for one particular animal, a little bit more interesting as we continue to add to this lodge. But anyway, that is going to do it for this video, so as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.